This is Intro to Java, week 7. In this program, in this lab, we are supposed to create a GUI. It's supposed to be basically a browser or an app that displays whatever you want to display. It can be buttons or a calculator or even just a calendar. So let's open NetBeans. So in this one, we had multiple components, each with its own class. So for this one, I had to start with the feed reader. Let's open that one. It doesn't really have anything on it, but let's just run it to see. But one thing I wanted to explain is that from each time, every single time, from each step, and I ran each class that I made, slowly it was coming together. So the first one that I made, so the feed reader, doesn't look the same. It does look the same, but it almost looks like it's a component, as like one of the components to the whole thing, to like what the end product is supposed to look like. So let's run it still runs on its own. It's not like it's not gonna work. It's just gonna look like the bare bones, like the like when you're creating art, there's like different layers to it. It looks like the first layer, like the background. So let's run this one. Which one is it? Feed reader. Let's just run the next one I made. The next one that I made was the payroll. I don't think this one has a way to run it. And then the simple frame. So the feed reader is supposed to be the frame. And then the payroll is supposed to be the size and what it's supposed to look like. So I guess if the feed reader is basically this this lining of this window, that's what it's supposed to look like, but nothing inside. It would be just all gray. And then the payroll is supposed to be the size of the window when you open it. And then the next one that I made was the simple frame. And in this one, it is supposed to be it's supposed to consist of the frame title, like this part right here, the title of the window, the title of the app, the name of it, whatever you wanted to say. So this one should be able to run. And it even pops up here at the bottom too. Like, so this is what I mean. This one has the title, the size when it pops up. And it can be any size, but when you open it, it won't be this size. It'll be 300 to 400. I think that's what it was. 300 to 100 is the size. And then with each step, it would have more components. And so for the next one, we have the button frames. And this one just starts putting the buttons in it. So like these little pieces right here, like the create new file, new project, new open a project, all these little pieces right here are the button frame, the little buttons that you have on any app. Like if we open Windows, for example, all these little pieces, even what it looks like, the art that it has, the design that somebody created, it's still a button. That's the whole point of it. It's supposed to pull in something. It's supposed to have a function to click and open a different link, or to change the setting of something, the look, the layout. So let's run the button frame. Yeah. So again, this is just a skeleton of the GUI. It doesn't have any meaning to it, so the buttons don't have any function behind it. They're just the bare bones. It's just load, save, and unsubscribe. Doesn't matter how many times you click it, nothing's supposed to pop up because you didn't put a function behind it. You didn't put any type of line of code or source code behind what it's supposed to do. It's just the simple browser. It doesn't really have anything. Let's close it. Oh. Accidentally closed it. Let's open it up again. Yeah, so the simple frame. And so in this one we have this was one I just displayed before. It has each button, what it's supposed to say, the size of the button, which is the frame of them. It's short and small because again, it's just the bare. There's no function to it. There's nothing else to it. So let's move on to the next one. The next one that I made was the icon frame. So for this one, it's supposed to have an icon with it. So let's run the icon frame. So you know how each button up here has a different design to it? Scissors, clipboards, papers, they all have its own familiar function. Even across like most apps, they have the same style, like copy and paste. Paste is usually a clipboard, and then copy is just two papers in front of one another, and then cut are scissors. These are all specific files that you can upload into whatever software you're using when you're programming these different apps, so that when it displays a button, it doesn't just display just simple words like load, save, and unsubscribe. Because even when you think about it, somebody who doesn't it's not even about not understanding the words that it's asking you, but if you were in another country and you saw the same something familiar like scissors, you would automatically know what it means. Like this play button, when I first started, I didn't know what run was, but by looking at the play button, it makes sense that it means to run, like to start the program. You want to start it to stop it. The hammer, something about building something, and then the broom obviously for sweeping. And then the clock, the profile, looking at the settings, the history of your code, and at what point, what did it look like. Yeah, so let's move on to the next one I was supposed to make, and that one was the Authenticator. So for this one, it's basically what it means. The username and password ask you what your username is, your password, but there is no function behind it. There is no case files. There isn't any save file, so that when you put in the password, it's not going to remember any password because there's nothing to it. It's just buttons you click, like text boxes you can type in. So let's run this one, the Authenticator. Right. So they're just text boxes. And the username says the username, and the password says the password, and the comment says the comment. And then you just type in anything. It's not going to really do anything. You can type forever. It's not going to save it when you exit out. At least I don't think it should. Let's try running it again to see if they saved anything. It shouldn't because wrong one. Yep, it didn't save anything. And so the next one that I made was the format frame. So in this one was, let's run this one. So this one is clicking a button, almost like a multiple choice question. Like you just select which option. You can't have more than one, and you can't not click one. Yeah. And so let's look at the next program that I made. And this one was a Dropbox. Another way of, yeah. And then let's exit out. And let's open the icon. No, the next one that I made was the last one that I made was the subscriptions. And for this one, it's a long list, but instead of being a Dropbox, it's all displayed and you just can scroll up or down. And another thing to add, if you were running this program on a Windows computer, it would look different. The GUI is supposed to match the outlook of your OS, so the frame of each different, like each component looks similar to what I'm using, the Mac OS, the Mac system, but it would look different on a Linux or a Windows computer, or even like an old Windows computer, like how it has that boxy silver look. And that's everything. And with all of this, you can basically create, you could add more to it. They're small and simple, which there's not a lot of code to it because it doesn't hold a function. The buttons don't hold a function. It doesn't save anything. It can't save files because you didn't add that. It's just like it's just the look of it. It's basically just like a window, and then you add whatever you want to add behind a window, like a book with no words or a store with nothing inside of it.